Welcome back to today's story. You know, guys, have you ever asked yourself, what is the real line between being strong and being a coward? We usually think a coward is someone who runs away when things get dangerous. And a strong person is someone who dares to let go so others can be happy. But is that really true? Or is that just a sweet lie we tell ourselves to put our conscience to sleep? James's story today is a mirror reflecting our own lives. He's a guy who seemed to have it all: composure, success, noble sacrifice. But it only took one sentence, or rather a whisper from his mother, to shatter that perfect mask and reveal a naked, painful truth. Turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and close your eyes. Let's step into James's mind to see, are you sleepwalking through your own life, just like him? Sometimes life moves along too quietly, quiet enough to be scary. It's like a calm river, but underneath, there are deadly currents. We just let ourselves drift, drifting along until we suddenly startle and realize we've drifted thousands of miles away from the shore of reality. James is standing right in that blind spot of life. Every morning he wakes up, opens his eyes, and looks at the ceiling. Everything's fine. Job, fine. Health, fine. Social status, just fine. He brushes his teeth, washes his face, ties his tie. He looks in the mirror and sees a mature, responsible man. He nods to himself. You're doing the right thing, James. You're on the right track. But deep inside that heaving chest, something doesn't fit. It's like a puzzle piece forced into the wrong spot. It feels uncomfortable, aching. It's not violent like a storm. No, it's like walking in a winter drizzle. Those tiny freezing raindrops. They don't soak you immediately, but bit by bit, they seep through your clothes, through your skin, and right into your bones. By the time you realize you're shivering, the cold has already taken over your whole body. On the outside, James is the ideal role model. He makes decisive moves, building a solid future everyone dreams of. But on the inside, James is a desolate battlefield. He's being torn apart. A civil war with no gunshots, but plenty of blood. Half of his soul still clings to old dreams. He still remembers Diep, the girl, with a smile like the morning sun. He still believes in that romantic notion that true love can overcome all barriers and time heals all wounds. But the other half, the pragmatic, tired half, has already surrendered. He has learned a dangerous skill, the art of self-deception. He calls running away by the fancy name maturity. He calls avoidance by the noble name sacrifice. If I just try a little harder, things will get better. James tells himself every day like a sedative to soothe his screaming conscience. He believes that leaving deep and staying silent before his father's tyranny is to protect everyone. But actually, James is procrastinating. He's delaying answering the cruelest questions. Am I living for myself? Or am I just a puppet playing a role to meet others' expectations? Am I facing the storm? Or am I just hiding in a cave, waiting for it to pass? In that massive house, the relationship between James and his mother has become something very strange. Distant, but not cold. It's like a guitar string, stretched too tight, but not broken, just silently vibrating with invisible sounds. His mom isn't like his dad. She doesn't beg, doesn't yell, doesn't demand he do this or that. She just observes. Every time James comes home from work, he meets her eyes. That gaze isn't sharp like a knife, but it's incredibly piercing. It's a mix of boundless love, heart-wrenching worry, and the infinite patience of a woman who has tasted enough of life's bitterness. She watches him eat. She watches him read. She watches the way he secretly sighs when he thinks no one is looking. James notices that silence, but he's scared of it. He'd rather she just scolded him, blamed him for leaving Diep, or for making his dad angry. But she says nothing. And James, in his cowardice, chooses to interpret that silence as sympathy. He tells himself, "Mom understands me. Mom supports my decision." Oh, poor James. He doesn't know that a mother's silence is sometimes the loudest cry. The nights are the most dangerous time for James. When the traffic noise outside dies down, when the yellow street lights spill through the curtains, that's when his daytime armor vanishes. The thoughts he tried to suppress during the day come rushing back, attacking him relentlessly. James remembers unfinished conversations with Diep, remembers the day he turned his back and walked away, leaving her in the rain, remembers the promises he never kept. But then when, as dawn breaks, he hurriedly suits up in the armor of the busy man, he believes that ignoring conflict is the only way to control his life. Deep down, James isn't lost. He is sleepwalking. He's sleeping right through the warning signs. A missed call from a number he knows by heart, but dares not answer. A family dinner he skips using work as an excuse, just to avoid sitting across from his father. A look from his mother that lasts just a second too long. He doesn't realize that this fake balance he's trying so hard to maintain is about to shatter. And it won't break with a scream, a slap, or an accident. It will crumble because of something much softer. A sentence so simple, yet powerful enough to destroy his entire fake persona. It was a Saturday afternoon. No storms, no thunder. Just beautiful, soft sunlight. An afternoon so normal that James never suspected it would be the day his life changed forever. The house was so quiet you could almost hear dust settling in the sunbeams. The pendulum clock on the wall. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Every beat felt like a hammer striking space, marking the cruel passage of time. His mother was sitting in the kitchen, peeling an apple. Her movements were slow and careful. The knife glided in a thin line, the peel falling away in a perfect spiral. James walked into the kitchen. He planned to just grab a glass of water and head straight up to his office. He wanted to avoid any deep conversation. That was his habit. He poured the water. The sound of the water flowing was the only noise in the room. The atmosphere felt pleasant, seemingly harmless, but it was the calm before the storm. Just as James grabbed the glass and turned to leave, his mother spoke. She didn't look up. She kept her eyes on the apple in her hand, her voice light as a breeze, as if she were talking to the apple peel itself. "Son, sometimes you think you're being strong, but the truth is, you're just running away." James froze. The glass in his hand trembled slightly. A drop of water spilled over and hit the floor. Drip. That sentence, it was too simple. No big words, no harsh blame, no accusation. But why? Why did it hurt so much? The those words landed like a boulder, thrown straight into the lake of his mind, a lake he was trying so hard to keep still. Splash! The surface shattered. Ripples began to spread, violent and uncontrollable. James turned to look at his mom. He tried to force a smile, that corporate smile he always used with clients. He wanted to crack a joke. "Mom, you're saying weird things again. I'm fine." Or, "I'm just busy, Mom." He wanted to use those lines to end the conversation, to slam the door to his soul shut, but he couldn't. His throat seized up, like an invisible hand was choking him. The smile on his lips twisted and died. Something inside his chest, where his heart was beating wildly, began to shift. It sounded like the creaking of a rusty iron door that had been locked for 10 years suddenly forced open. His mother finally looked up. She set the knife down on the table. She looked straight into his eyes. Her gaze wasn't judging anymore. It was pure, utter empathy. She continued, her voice even softer than before, but 1,000 times more piercing. "I'm not saying this to make you change today. I'm just afraid. You'll get lost tomorrow. And tomorrow comes very fast, son." In that moment, time seemed to stop. James looked at the small woman in front of him. He suddenly realized her hair had gotten so gray. The crow's feet around her eyes were deeper, and he understood that she had seen everything. She saw the cowardice hiding behind the expensive suit. She saw the fear hiding behind the cool face. She saw how he missed Diep like crazy, but pretended he had forgotten. She didn't need him to explain. She didn't need reasons. She simply reminded him of who he was. Reminded him of the true self he had tried to bury. Like so many men out there, James had mastered surviving, but he had forgotten how to live. He'd made a fatal mistake. He thought silence was peace. Wrong. Silence is dying a slow death. He thought distance was protection. Wrong. Distance is a knife severing connections. He thought letting go was noble. Wrong. Letting go when you still love is the most cowardly escape. His mother's words were like a slap in the face, knocking away every excuse he had built up over the years. The shell of the perfect man crumbled at his feet like shards of glass. James didn't answer. How could he answer when the truth was laid bare like that? He slowly set the glass down on the table. He turned and walked out of the kitchen. Every step felt heavy as lead. James left, but he wasn't the same James from 5 minutes ago. For the first time in a long, long while, he felt an intense discomfort. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't anger. It was clarity. It was like someone used to a pitch-black room suddenly having a floodlight turned on right in their face. It hurts. It's blinding. But you can't deny the existence of everything around you anymore. And once that clarity hits, you can't pretend to go back to sleep. That was the longest night of James's life. He lay in bed, but couldn't sleep a wink. The dark ceiling seemed to be lowering, pressing down on his chest, forcing him to stare the truth in the eye. Every sound became brutally clear. The wind whistling through the window, cracks sounded like a mournful accusation. The creaking of the floorboards in the cold sounded like footsteps leaving, but the loudest noise didn't come from outside. It came from inside his head. His mother's words kept replaying like a broken record he couldn't turn off. Sometimes you think you're being strong, but actually you're just running away. Running away. Running away. Running away. James shot up. He walked to the window, staring out into the night. He remembered the day he broke up with Diep. What did he say? I'm leaving for your own good. Lies. He left because he was scared to face his dad. He left because he was scared of losing his inheritance. He left because he was scared of hardship. He remembered the disappointment in Diep's eyes. She didn't cry because he was poor. She cried because he didn't dare to fight for her. James spent years believing that walking away was how he protected everyone. Protecting Diep from his family's disdain. Protecting his parents from conflict. Protecting himself from pain. But now, under the cold moonlight, he realized he hadn't protected anyone. He just hurt everyone. He left Diep lonely. He left his parents living with a soulless shell. And he killed his own emotions. James gripped the window bars tight. His fingernails dug into his skin, painful. But this physical pain helped him stay awake. It was time to stop. Time to stop being a coward, hiding in a hero's shadow. Time to face the demon named fear. James went back to his desk. He pulled out a blank sheet of paper. He picked up a pen, not to write a resignation letter, not to write a business plan. He wrote a letter. The letter he should have written 3 years ago. His hand trembled as he wrote the first line, "To Diep and to the James of yesterday. Tomorrow morning when the sun rises, James won't be a faint shadow in this house anymore. He's going to do something. Maybe something crazy. He might lose his entire inheritance. But at least he won't be running away anymore." What about you guys? Is anyone listening to this story also lying to themselves that silence is golden or avoidance is sacrifice? Don't wait until your mom has to say those bitter words. Don't wait until it's too late. Be brave enough to face your heart no matter how much it hurts. Because it's better to hurt once to live for real than to live a whole life of fake peace and cowardice. The lesson is, clear love means having the courage not to disappear. Because in the end, what saves a relationship isn't perfection. It's honesty, responsibility, and the will to keep walking together, even when you're scared. But guys, life isn't just philosophy pages lying still on paper. When James closed the door on fear to open the door to truth, he didn't know he just stepped into another storm. A brutal storm of reality that he had ignored for too long. The next morning, James woke up earlier than usual. Not because of an alarm, but because of the phone buzzing constantly on the old wooden table at Diep's house. The screen lit up in the dim light. Dad. 15 missed calls, followed by a barrage of texts from his personal secretary. If it were the James of yesterday, he would turn it off. He would bury his face in the pillow and pretend the outside world didn't exist. But the James of today was different. He remembered the promise he made to Diep last night. I won't disappear ever again. Disappearing isn't just running away from Diep. It's running away from his own responsibilities. Diep was still fast asleep, breathing steadily and peacefully. James watched her for a moment, gently tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Then he grabbed the phone and stepped out onto the balcony. The early wind slapped his face cold and biting, but it helped him focus. He hit callback. The other end picked up immediately, but it wasn't the shouting he expected. It was a deep, cold, and frighteningly strange voice his father, Mr. Juan, "Come home, now. Not to apologize, but to see what you've done to this empire." The line went dead. James felt a chill run down his spine. That wasn't a threat. It was a signal of a collapse. James went back inside and saw Diep was up, leaning against the doorframe, watching him. She didn't ask. "Who was that?" She just asked. "Do you have to go?" James nodded. He walked over, held her shoulders, and looked straight into her eyes, something he used to always avoid. "Dad called me back. Something happened at the corporation. I'm going, and I'll be back before dinner. I promise." Diep smiled and fixed his collar. "I believe in you. Go. Don't run away anymore." James's car sped through the misty morning. He was returning to the familiar villa, but this time with a different state of mind. He wasn't coming back to bow his head like a naughty child. He was returning as a man ready to face the consequences of his absence. The heavy iron gates creaked open. But what waited for James inside wasn't a family tribunal with lectures about his love life. The living room was dead silent. The maids were tiptoeing around looking terrified. Mr. Juan sat in the leather armchair in the center of the room, surrounded by piles of thick financial files. He had aged visibly since the last time James saw him. The usual domineering aura seemed drained, leaving only the exhaustion of a wounded old lion. "Sit down," Mr. Juan said, not looking at his son. James sat opposite him. He looked at the files on the table. Red numbers danced before his eyes. Bad debt, insolvency, stocks plummeting. And worst of all, a subpoena related to misconduct in a project James was named on, but never actually ran during his time running away from his emotions. "See that?" Mr. Juan spoke, his voice hoarse. "You think leaving dodging responsibility, chasing so-called free love, makes you a hero? While you were busy beating yourself up, busy finding yourself, the enemies of this house tore it apart." James went silent. Turns out the price of sleepwalking wasn't just emotional distance. It was actual collapse material and reputational. He thought he was a victim of control, but he forgot that when he refused the power to control, he also refused the duty to protect his family. He left a power vacuum, and opportunists filled it. Mr. Juan threw a piece of paper at James. It was his resignation letter already signed. "I'm old. I don't have the strength to fight those vultures anymore. You want freedom. Fine. Sign here, sell all the shares. Pay the debts, then go wherever you want with your girl. I won't stop you anymore. Consider it my total loss." The room fell into a deathly silence. This was the moment James used to dream of his dad letting go total freedom. He could sell everything, take the small remaining cash, and live peacefully with Diep, no pressure, no burden. But why did his heart feel so heavy? He looked at his defeated father, bowing his head. He looked at his mom crying silently in the corner. If he left now, yes, he'd be free, but it would be the freedom of a deserter. He'd be a runaway again, not from love this time, but from the duty of a son, a pillar of the family. James closed his eyes. Diep's image appeared. Why did she love him? Because he was a rich heir? No. She loved him for his kindness. And would a kind person abandon his family in their darkest hour to seek his own happiness? No. James opened his eyes. His gaze changed. No more fear, no more hesitation. He picked up his dad's resignation letter and tore it to pieces. The sound of ripping paper rang out dryly, tearing apart the silence. Mr. Hoan snapped his head up, stunned. "I'm not going anywhere." James said, his voice low but resonant, full of weight. "I've run away enough. I hid from you, from Diep, from myself. But not today." He stood up, leaning both hands on the table, looking straight into his dad's eyes. "You were wrong to try to control my life, but I was also wrong to think abandoning everything was the solution. I'm staying. I'm going to clean up this mess. Not for you, not for the chairman's seat, but because this is my responsibility. And one more thing." James continued, his voice steadier than ever. "I'm going to do this with Diep by my side. She isn't my weakness. She's the reason I became strong. From now on, you might not accept her, but you must respect my choice. I won't hide her for another second." Mr. Hoan looked at his son. For the first time in years, he didn't see a child needing discipline. He saw a rival, a real man. Someone daring to shoulder the whole world while still protecting the woman he loved. James turned to leave. "I'm going home to have dinner with Diep. Tomorrow, I'll be at the company at 7 a.m. for the shareholder meeting. You better be ready." James walked out of the villa. The rain had stopped. But the real challenge was just beginning. What would he tell Diep? That he wasn't bringing her the peaceful life he promised, but a brutal war in the business world. That staying with him now meant standing in the firing line of public opinion debt and lurking dangers. James drove to Diep's house. When he walked in, dinner was ready. The smell of hot soup felt cozy. Diep saw the serious look on his face and put down her chopsticks. "Something really bad happened, didn't it?" she asked. A woman's intuition is always sharp. James sat down, holding her hands. This time, he didn't hide the worry. He told her everything. About the debt, the bankruptcy risk, the subpoena, and his crazy decision to shoulder it all instead of running away. "I'm sorry." James lowered his head. "I promised I wouldn't disappear. But instead, I've dragged you into another mess. If you want to leave, Before he could finish, Diep placed a finger on his lips. "Hey, James," she said softly. "Why do you think I love you? Because you're rich? I've loved you since the days you used to sneak out to eat street food with me." Diep squeezed his hand tighter. "Yesterday, you chose the truth. Today, you chose responsibility. That is the man I love. Whether it's a muddy pit or a bed of roses, as long as we walk together, I'm in." They looked at each other, and in that moment, James knew he had won. He might lose his entire fortune, but he had won the biggest gamble of his life, finding a true soulmate. But life has a cruel sense of humor. Just as they found harmony in their souls, a violent banging echoed from outside. Thud, thud, thud. That wasn't a polite knock. It was the banging of a threat. James shot up, shielding Diep behind him. The door burst open. It wasn't his dad, nor was it company staff. Standing there were three strangers in black suits, faces cold as stone. The leader took off his sunglasses and smirked a smile that sent chills down the spine. "Hello, Mr. James. Heard you plan to take on your father's debt. Excellent. Then let's talk about the debt from 10 years ago that Mr. Juan owes us. Shall we a debt paid in blood? James was stunned. A debt from 10 years ago. What had his father hidden? Turns out, the corporation's collapse wasn't just bad business. It was tied to an underworld force James never knew existed. And Diep, standing behind him, suddenly went pale when she saw the man. Her hands trembled violently, clutching James's shirt. "It's him," Diep whispered, her voice choking with fear. "He's the one who caused the accident that killed my parents years ago." What the earth seemed to crumble beneath James's feet. His father's creditor is the murderer of Diep's parents. The cruel strings of fate were tightening around their throats. The past didn't just knock. The past kicked the door down, bringing with it a horrific truth that neither James nor Diep ever dared to imagine. Can a love just healed by truth withstand this shock? What will James do, knowing his father might be indirectly linked to the tragedy of the woman he loves most? And Diep, will she choose forgiveness or revenge, standing between two men? One she loves, and the son of the man who might have destroyed her family. The answer remains, hanging in this dark night. One thing is certain tonight, no one will sleep soundly, and the real storm is only just beginning. Dear friends, we thought James had grown up, had chosen the right path, but fate loves to play tricks. The truth is sometimes crueler than lies. When the veil of secrecy over the blood debt is lifted, will James still have the courage to stay as he promised? Or will he run away once again from this terrifying reality? What do you think about Diep's reaction? Did she know the truth about James's father beforehand? Or is this a fatal blow to her as well? Leave your theories in the comments section. Diep will forgive, or Diep will leave. The story is reaching its climax with dark secrets of the underworld and family vendettas. Don't miss the next episode, because it will answer all the questions that are suffocating you right now. Smash that like button to give James some strength. And most importantly, subscribe and hit the notification bell immediately. You don't want to be the last one to know the truth about Diep's parents' death. Thank you for listening. Goodbye, and see you in the next stormy episode.